You've lived through seasons of joy, of heartache, of laughter that echoes still, and silences that taught more than words ever could. And as you stand here, in this beautiful chapter beyond 60, you deserve to feel strong, not just in body but in spirit. But somewhere along the way, quiet burdens may have crept in. Fatigue that lingers, sleep that doesn't refresh. A feeling, subtle but persistent, that something within you feels ain't off. The truth is, your liver, your body's quiet caretaker, is often the first to feel the weight of invisible pressures. Not just what we eat or drink, but what we carry. Regret, resentment, exhaustion, silence. Today, we're not just going to talk about health. We're going to talk about healing. Because your liver isn't just a filter, it's your ally. And after 60, it deserves our gentle attention more than ever. This isn't about restriction or rules. It's about reclaiming energy, peace, and the quiet dignity that lives in everyday decisions. I'll walk beside you through 6 things that may be unknowingly damaging your liver, and more importantly, how small, steady shifts can restore not only its strength, but yours too. Let's begin. Softly, simply, and with the strength of someone who's not here to fight, but to flourish. Excessive sugar, the silent burden. Sugar doesn't often come to our door with a warning. It comes with celebration, with memory, cakes at birthdays, warm pies at holidays. But too much sugar, especially in our later years, can quietly weigh down the liver, like carrying a familiar but heavy bag every day without realizing it's hurting our back. After 60, the liver becomes more vulnerable to what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It sounds clinical, but what it really means is too much sugar, especially fructose, gets stored as fat in the liver. Over time, this buildup makes the liver sluggish, tired, overwhelmed, and slow to repair itself. But here's the gentle shift. Instead of cutting sugar out cold, which can feel like punishment, we shift the relationship, not the food, but the feeling. You might begin your morning by asking not, "What can I eat today?" but "What does my body thank me for?" That simple question can lead to slow, loving adjustments, replacing sugary yogurts with plain ones kissed with berries, swapping soda for herbal teas that feel like a warm embrace, choosing dark chocolate over milk, not because it's healthy, but because it honors both craving and care. And if someone brings over a cake, have a slice, with gratitude, not guilt. The damage is not in one moment of joy, it's in the absence of intention. And sometimes intention looks like a quiet cup of warm lemon water in the morning, a moment of stillness that tells your liver, "I see you, I'm here." Let's heal together. Over-the-counter painkillers, hidden harm. Pain has a way of sneaking in as we age, knees that whisper, backs that ache, and it's natural to reach for quick relief. But frequent use of painkillers like acetaminophen, even in regular doses, can strain the liver's filtering power. Think of the liver like a kind neighbor who always says yes. Can you process this? Yes. Can you store that? Yes. But over time, without rest or boundaries, even kindness gets exhausted. So what do we do when we're in pain, and the usual relief comes at a quiet cost? We shift from reaction to ritual. Instead of reaching first for a pill, consider creating a pain relief ritual that asks, "What else might soothe me today?" It might be a warm compress, a short walk in morning sun, a gentle stretch, or simply 5 minutes of silence. These small practices won't erase pain overnight, but they whisper to your liver, "I will not burden you carelessly." And when you do need medication, take it with presence. Drink extra water, space it out. Never mix it with alcohol. Choose brands with less acetaminophen, or consult a trusted pharmacist who listens, not just prescribes. And most of all, listen to your pain not as a nuisance but as a messenger. It's asking for compassion, not quick silencing. Because after 60, our greatest medicine is not in a bottle, but in the way we treat ourselves when no one is watching. Alcohol, the quiet erosion. This isn't a sermon, and it's not about shame, it's about honesty. The kind of quiet honesty that says, alcohol, while it may once have felt like freedom, can slowly become a thief. After 60, even small amounts of alcohol affect the liver more intensely. The same glass of wine that once relaxed the body can now quietly inflame it, making it harder for your liver to perform its daily miracles. But here's where we shift from judgment to gentle boundaries. Instead of asking, "Should I quit drinking?" ask, "Does this still serve me?" Sometimes dignity means putting a hand over your glass at a gathering, not to explain or defend, but simply to protect. You don't owe anyone a reason for choosing clarity over cloudiness. If you find joy in rituals, try creating new ones. A sparkling water in a crystal glass, herbal mocktails that feel luxurious, not lacking, evening routines that end not in numbness, but in reflection. And if drinking has become more of a crutch than a choice, seek support, not out of guilt, but out of self-worth. There's no shame in saying, "I want something better for myself." You've lived long enough to know peace doesn't come from a bottle. It comes from within. And your liver, it remembers every time you chose yourself, quietly, softly, bravely. Processed foods, slow poison in shiny wrappers, they're quick, they're cheap, and they're everywhere. Packaged snacks, frozen dinners, processed meats, offering convenience but slowly eroding your liver's vitality. These foods are often filled with trans fats, preservatives, and sodium that tax the liver's filtering system. Over time, they contribute to inflammation and fat buildup, like a sink slowly clogging with grease. But again, this isn't about fear. It's about reclaiming choice with gentleness. You don't need to overhaul your pantry in a day. Begin with small replacements. A homemade soup instead of canned, fresh herbs instead of salty seasoning packets, oats instead of sugary cereal. And most of all, return to the ritual of cooking, not for perfection, but for presence. There's a certain dignity in preparing your own meals, even if it's just a humble stew or steamed vegetables with olive oil. It's a quiet act of self-respect, of saying, "I am worth the time it takes to nourish myself." Processed foods rob you of energy slowly. But real food? It returns it, softly, generously, steadily. Chronic stress, the emotional toxin. You might be wondering, what does stress have to do with my liver? The answer is everything. Stress, especially the kind that's unspoken and ongoing, affects cortisol levels. High cortisol interferes with the liver's ability to detoxify, and stress-induced habits, poor sleep, poor food choices, shallow breathing, only compound the damage. After 60, stress often isn't loud. It's the quiet worry about adult children, the ache of loss, the feeling of invisibility, the unsaid. But here's the truth. Your emotions matter. Not just your thoughts, but your heart's whispers. To protect your liver, protect your peace. Build emotional distance where needed, not by walking away with anger, but by stepping back with grace. You don't have to absorb everyone's chaos. Sometimes silence is the greatest boundary. Not cold but calm, not withdrawal but wisdom. Create a self-respect routine, morning stillness, evening journaling, one daily act of joy, a walk without your phone, a quiet no when you used to say yes. These rituals aren't luxuries. They're lifelines, because when you release what you cannot control, your liver, your loyal friend, finally exhales. Poor sleep, the nighttime saboteur. Sleep is where healing begins. But after 60, restful sleep can feel elusive. The body wakes easily, the mind won't quiet. And the liver, which performs much of its detoxification during the night, suffers silently. Poor sleep means the liver can't fully regenerate. Over time, toxins linger, and fatigue becomes chronic. So how do we return to sacred sleep? Not with force, but with ritual. Dim the lights an hour before bed. Light a candle, turn off the news, rub your feet with lavender oil, stretch gently, breathe, and, most importantly, release the day. Each night before bed, speak softly to yourself. I did enough, I am enough, I can rest now. This is more than routine, it's restoration, a daily reclaiming of peace, and in turn, a gift to your liver. Good sleep doesn't just support health, it restores hope. You didn't come here to be told what to do. You came to remember who you are, a person who has lived and lost and learned, a soul with quiet wisdom, growing more radiant with each passing year. Your liver, so often overlooked, is a reflection of your life. Not just your diet, but your dignity. Not just your habits, but your healing. You don't need to change everything. Just begin with small, sacred shifts. A silent no, a warm meal, a deep breath, a loving ritual. A soft boundary, each one a thread in the tapestry of your renewal. So to you, yes, you, who watched this all the way through, I see your strength. I honor your journey, and I believe in your ability to heal, not with force, but with grace. If this message touched something within you, I invite you to stay close. Subscribe if you wish, or share your story in the comments. Not because I ask, but because someone else might need to hear what you've quietly carried. And courageously. Released, take gentle care of your liver. Take fierce care of your spirit, because you are not just aging, you are becoming more